your mic on?
No, it was not on. Should we start over?
Well, we don't start all the way over.
Actually, your mic is also not on.
Yeah, so
yeah.
would you, I would just, and I think we should announce that did the roll call, you
Yes.
have your quorum. And then go ahead and just the
Mhm.
agenda. I think people saw that we stood.
Understood. So we have the roll call, we have a quorum, and now we're going to move ahead with the agenda. So can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I move, so move.
A motion.
Second.
All right, motion was made by Janet, seconded by Chris. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion passes. So item number 5, or actually we need minutes. Oh, that's 6. Item number 5, public comment for agenda items. Seeing no members of the public present, we'll go ahead and move on to the next item. So item number 6, the last meeting minutes. Can I get a motion to approve minutes from the March EAC meeting?
I motion to approve.
I second.
All right, motion was made by Chris. The motion was seconded by Janet. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Moving on to item number 7, the 2025 annual report from the EAC. This was, I believe, submitted today to the township.
Oh,
Sheila let me know that she submitted it today. I do have a copy. She sent one. So we will have to, of course, publish this report either with the minutes or perhaps with the next agenda. But I'm going to go ahead and read some excerpts that
Okay.
call out some of the great work done by the former members of the EAC. So let me get started by thanking Sheila and Janet, Dave, Cindy, and Joe for the work that they did in 2025. Beyond formal meetings, EAC members in 2025 collectively contributed an estimated 700 volunteer hours supporting township initiatives, environmental stewardship, and programs benefiting both current residents and future generations of the community. Congratulations, Janet. That's a lot of hours.
And it was a lot of
Mhm.
volunteers.
Absolutely. So a few things of note. In 2025, the EAC collaborated on a major residential fall street tree planting program in the Lower St. Albans neighborhood. A total of 40 native trees were planted within the township rights of way as part of the township's phase 2 of an EAC and Newtown Shade Tree Commission initiative to provide subsidized street trees to residents. These plantings also helped the township advance towards planting 1,000 trees by January 2026. More than 60 individuals participated in the planting, including local residents, property owners, community volunteers, member of Parks and Rec, Public Works, and Newtown Square and Bloom, along with several school kids, including the Marple Newtown Honor Society. And we've estimated that the combined volunteer hours provided by this accounted for about $5,000 of service value, so about 160 hours. So that's obviously a wonderful achievement. Of course, Janet talked about Birdtown, Pennsylvania at our last meeting, so we won't go into detail on that other to say that Janet is a Birdtown rock star.
And I have
She did. Actually, why don't you go ahead and speak to that now, Janet?
so, I talked about how every year we could get of this form that shows what our certification is. And Steve, I think you suggested that we could get one that just inserts into the frame that's there already rather than papering the wall
yeah.
with this. And I'd like to thank Harry from Pegasus, who gave us this for free.
Oh, very nice.
Right, yes, I really appreciate it. Right, so I'm gonna pass this on to you. If there is a moment when, or I'm thinking about when we show or bring out the important bird area signs, that perhaps I could present it to the board at that time.
All right, so moving on to the topics of rain gardens and stormwater education. The EAC continued to promote awareness and maintenance of the township's 2 native plant pollinator rain gardens in collaboration with Public Works. Regular volunteers have been going out there and maintaining both the installation and maintenance. And it's estimated that community volunteers provided about 100 hours of weeding, watering, edging, and maintenance throughout the year, which is approximately a volunteer contribution of about $3,200 to the township. And in June of 2025, more than 30 participants attended a native plant pollinator garden walk and talk hosted by the EAC in partnership with the Newtown Public Library, with Bird Town and Trails and Greenways. And I think here we need to make a special recognition to Cindy Mahalo for all of the work she did, not just putting in the the pollinator garden in the past, but also being willing and able to continue maintaining that volunteer effort and contribution. Just this past week, Cindy organized 2 separate weeding and maintenance events at the rain garden. I was able to attend one of those, and I think Janet, you were as well?
I attended both of them.
Yeah, and
Yes,
she's
right.
done a wonderful job and continues to do a wonderful job maintaining those. It's a lot of work. There's also an exciting new program happening now where the dead stems are going to be packaged and put into what is known as a dead hedge, which allows some ongoing opportunities for habitat and seeds to local wildlife.
And also for overwintering organisms.
Mhm.
When we were cutting down the cornflower stalks, we found 5 chrysalis
Mhm.
that were attached. And so they're still out there in that garden there that we moved them, but we didn't crush them or anything like that. Curious to see what emerges.
I had actually never heard of that. I had no idea what that was. I think it's wonderful. And if people want to come down to the township building, they're very visible. You can see them along back a bit towards where the police parking area is and also along the side of the wall. So I think that's a really nice way to use that material.
And
instead
George
of-
was out there and
Yeah,
they
he was.
determined where it would be best to move it
Yeah,
to.
George and I were talking about this week, and we think we found a spot that
Mhm.
will be protected enough that it will stay.
Yeah.
And it will be able to be used and do hopefully address what we're trying to address with it.
Yeah.
Right. It certainly is a more sustainable way of handling it.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And I thought that Cindy's letter was outstanding to both the police chief
mhm.
and to George in explaining why these bundles are out there, that they really have a purpose.
Okay. Good.
Awesome. So I'm going to move on to Sustainable Newtown Square. So the Sustainable Newtown Square Green Business Coalition continued to expand in 2025 following its launch in March 2023. The program promotes and encourages local businesses to adopt sustainable practices by signing the township's voluntary Sustainable Newtown Square Green Business Coalition pledge. That is a mouthful. We got to work on shortening that. Participating businesses outline both current sustainability actions and future environmental goals. By the end of 2025, more than 46 businesses had joined the program, which I think is a wonderful demonstration of commitment to sustainability. On March 7th, 2025, the EAC and the Newtown Square Business Association co-hosted the 2nd annual Sustainable Newtown Square Green Business Coalition mini conference at Dunwoody Village. The event brought together business leaders, government representatives, and sustainability experts to share best practices and environmental management strategies. So a few points I want to call out: some great work done in public education and community awareness. So mosquito dunks are a great topic. The EAC participated in multiple township-wide events to distribute free mosquito dunks and educational materials in collaboration with the Delaware County Department of Health. The EAC was also able to promote and share information on Garrett Williamson's fall pumpkin collection, which is a great opportunity for people where Garrett Williamson collects and composts pumpkins. Additionally, Newtown Square in Bloom hosted America in Bloom. So in June of 2025, the EAC participated in Newtown Square in Bloom, hosting America in Bloom, where national judges reviewed Newtown Township. The review provided valuable perspective from outside professionals who come to stay and visit in the township. The judges provided written impressions, guidance, and recommendations for the township's beautification and community development. So moving on to township.
And I have
Yeah.
to add that
Mhm.
they attributed a lot of the work to the volunteers that hold our community together from so many different groups. I was glad
Absolutely.
that we made that impression.
Definitely. So moving on to township communications and outreach. Throughout 2025, the EAC produced 5 to 6 educational articles per month for the township's e-newsletter. They also actively participated in numerous community events and educational initiatives, including rain garden volunteer days, bird walks, native plant workshops, and Sustainable Newtown Square Green Business Coalition meetups. They also participated in numerous stream cleanups in partnership with the Township Parks and Recreation, and had many, and I'm sure as Janet knows, many environmental tabling events at the Newtown Square Farmers Market, Circle at Sundown, Library, and historical township events. The EAC also partnered with local schools and student organizations to engage young environmental leaders, initiatives including a tree planting with the Episcopal Academy, students participating in tree planting and rain garden maintenance, hands-on learning about riparian buffers, and also EAC participation in Newtown Square Fire Company's Trunk or Treat. In 2025, the EAC members also participated in Delaware County's annual sustainability conference, ensuring that the EAC remains current with best practices in environmental management, sustainability planning, and regulatory developments. And I know we're running a bit long, but just to cap it off a little bit. Just again, an overall thank you to everyone who participated and provided labor, effort, and enthusiasm in 2025. And hopefully we can, here in 2026, do a good job of moving that forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Janet, anything else you want to add as a continuing member of the EAC?
I think that the report that has been sent, it really does sum up all of the wonderful activities that we have had, and it propels us with more passion to move forward to stress sustainability. I think whenever we're out there, that word sustainability should be part of it, because that's what we really need to push to make our township the premier that we want to be, to lead the way in sustainability.
Awesome. All right, so moving on to new business. So item 8.1, discuss and decide on April e-newsletter and social media topics. So just a quick recap of March. In March, we were able to publish 2 articles. The first one was about the Lights Out for Birds, which actually does begin in April, but I think it was good that we spoke about this in March, as well as smart pruning practices. So I'm going to suggest that let's first discuss and decide on April topics, but also discuss potentially May as well. I think what we should do in practice is begin to start talking about the next 2 upcoming months at each meeting, in part because the calendar of when these get published into the newsletter occasionally is a bit off cycle from when our EAC meetings are held. So I think it's probably good practice that we get into talking about definitively this upcoming month and then the following month, so we don't accidentally find ourselves in a situation like we did last month, where it was a very, very, very tight timeline for turnaround.
Right. So I think we have to submit by the 7th.
Yes, we have plenty of time this time.
Right. So I have one that I need Steve's advice on. And that is the bird walk that we're having on Migratory Bird Day at Garrett Williamson in collaboration with CRC. They do the registration. That document, graphic, is available as of today. Could that go on the calendar, or should that go on the EAC articles that we, How can we get that advertised on the?
Yeah, so I think the answer is yes, it can go in both places.
Okay.
You know, I think if you get it to us and we're ready to do it, we can send it out before the newsletter
Okay.
as a social media post, letting people
May the
know.
9th, so,
Yeah.
right,
Oh, May the 9th?
May the
Yeah.
9th, yeah.
Oh, so we have time to,
Right.
if it goes in the newsletter,
right.
and then we can do maybe a social media post afterwards.
Okay, I'm gonna send it to, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
send it my way. I can
Send it to
adjust.
Kate. So
I
Yeah.
can deal with the graphic as
Right.
needed. I agree. We'll submit it, and then also social media. And then even with these types of events, even if they're not specifically EAC co-hosted, we can always put them in community events and calendars in the newsletter as well. So that, I think that definitely is always an option.
Right.
So I agree. Let's see, any other topics? I would recommend that we resubmit Lights Out for Birds. It actually did just get posted recently this weekend on social media, but I'd recommend that we continue it into April because of the time and relevance.
Yes.
I also think it's important to kind of continue some of these messages so they stick. Something we had previously drafted was the article about supporting monarchs. So I think that could be a good potential candidate for either April or May. I don't think it necessarily has to be one or the other.
Here's my new table book.
Oh, look at that.
Yes, we're in the process of determining how to plant
Mhm.
the pollinator garden to make it more of a monarch habitat.
Mhm.
But that means that it also supports other butterflies as
Mhm.
well. But by having milkweed there, by having goldenrod and
Mhm.
asters for the fall, we can really support the monarch butterflies. I was down in Florida and went to the Butterfly World that's just north of Fort Lauderdale, where my son is living now. And it was a wonderful opportunity to see all the butterflies that they have there.
All right. I'm also going to suggest, we talked last time, I think, actually, we might have talked about this at the conference about Stream Smart audits. So Stream Smart is a program that now has funding that will expand into Newtown Township, where you can sign up and they will come to your house and they will look at your entire property and make sort of easy to implement, manageable recommendations for how you could improve stormwater management on your property. I actually had them come out to my property last week, and within 48 hours, they sent me an awesome report. And admittedly, my property is very well developed for stormwater management. I actually have a series of culverts built into the property. But even given that, they gave me a great idea for putting in a rock buffer zone leading into my rain garden to capture more groundwater there. So I think it's definitely something we want to promote.
So does it have to be a property that goes into a creek?
No, it can
No?
be anyone's home.
Okay.
So anyone who's dealing with stormwater issues, maybe a buildup of accumulation of a lot of water in your yard, any type of water retention or water dispersal related issue.
Do they talk about barrels, rain garden barrels?
You know,
Rain
we
barrels?
didn't talk about that specifically. Because I think it's not, I mean, it's more about rain capture maybe than stormwater management, but it might be something they recommend. I actually already have one, so maybe it just didn't come up when they came and walked through my property.
I have one of
Mhm.
the kits that was available through Penn Extension.
Mhm.
I purchased it for tabling events, so.
Does it catch your downspouts?
Yes, right.
Mhm.
I like the Stream Smart audit one.
Yeah.
It's getting to be rainy season.
And they just got funding approved to expand that offer through a grant into our area to do those audits. So I sounds like we're all in agreement. This is definitely something we want to promote in the newsletter, and it is a free service they're providing to Newtown Township residents.
Did they have a maximum of number?
You know, that's a good question. I don't know about a maximum. I do know they have funding available. So I would say get in there while it's hot. Don't wait. If you have a stormwater management issue on your property, you definitely want to have them come out sooner rather than later.
How do you get in touch with them?
So we actually came across them during the sustainability conference. I think Carol Butler was tabling.
ERC.
Yes, Pennsylvania Resource Council. And we had, I think, all had a conversation around that, and they mentioned that this was now going to be available, so we should definitely promote it.
Great.
Yeah, we can put it in the newsletter, we can put it on social media, and we can link it to the EAC page. Any other topics people might want to raise for April?
I suggest we kind of hold it at 3. I
Mhm.
think more than that, we might lose people from tuning into us.
Yeah, I think we can do that. So we've got Lights Out, Supporting Monarchs, and Stream Smart. All right, that's a
Okay.
solid 3.
And the bird walk is going to appear someplace.
Well, and we can include that as well. So I
Okay.
think in that case, it's less of an article, right, and more of an
Yes.
event that we're advertising. So we
Right.
can put those both up, and then you can put those both up, both newsletter topics and separate events onto the
Right,
social media
right.
page. All right, so there'll be 3 articles, and then we'll have 1 event. I don't believe we have any other. No, we should, are there any other May events, actually? I know that's a later topic, but any other May events that we need to promote? 'Cause I know we'll get to this, but the native plant swap was rescheduled outside of May, correct?
June the 6th.
Yeah, all right, so then I think we're good on May.
But I did want to mention, and I don't know that this is going to go up for the EAC, but the neighbor forest event that I alerted Angela to with the library. They are giving trees to children.
Mhm.
These are small trees. And I read it on the Transition Town Media. That they were advertising it there.
Mhm.
So I called Angela. She said, well, let's ask for like 25 trees.
Mhm.
And then she got back to me. She said, 113 people have have contacted me that they want trees. So the trees are supposed to be delivered on the 20th and then will be distributed the 23rd, I think 24th and 25th. So Birdtown will help with the distribution and however we store them before they get distributed. I think it's a great opportunity and hopefully it's the first of many.
Excellent.
Were you able to get enough trees for all of those people?
They are the organization, Neighborhood Forest,
Mhm.
delivers the trees. These are the small ones.
Okay,
Right.
The little seedlings.
Yes,
Mhm.
right. And there's some papers that go with them that for the parents and for the children to understand, not all trees make it.
right.
But if you're persistent and that over time, you'll be successful and have a tree. And I can't think of anything better than a kids growing up with a tree that
A
they
little,
can say,
little wee
"Mom."
baby tree, absolutely. Yeah, I think they might not realize how long some of those trees take to plant though. I suppose it depends on some of them are generational bets.
Yes, they are.
I put some white oaks in
Heritage
5 years
trees,
ago, and I'm only
absolutely.
now getting them to the size where I can be like, look, a tree. It's not just a stick. Okay, so maybe let's also talk about potential topics for May. I think May might be a good time to talk about composting. I'm just gonna throw some ideas out there. Composting, maybe talk a little bit about stream health or riparian buffers. And then there is actually a really fun resource I dug up coming out of the sustainability conference. We learned during that about the PRCs, again, that's Pennsylvania Resource Council Sustainable Hub. And I found a fun photo contest on there that's open all the way from January to October 31st. It's called Lens on Litter, and it's a PRC photo contest where you can submit before and after shots of litter that you have gone into your community and picked up. And there is a grand prize of $500 to the resident who submits the winning
Oh my
photo.
God.
So I mean, I think it's nothing but a great idea to encourage people to pick up litter in our community. And that's a pretty big prize to shoot for. So that might be something fun to co-advertise in May as well.
I guess the CRC cleanup doesn't count.
Well, I know, if only, but this happened
That was
afterwards.
half a ton of stuff.
I
they pulled
know.
Out of.
We will get to
the
that for
creek.
sure. So just some ideas. We don't have to decide. We do have time in May because the publication deadline is not until the 5th. And I believe that we do meet in May prior to the 5th, but you know, those are all ideas I think might be a good idea. And by composting, I mean composting for all different homes. So what does it mean to compost if you have an apartment? You know, maybe you're looking at a commercial service. What does it mean to compost with a small property, a large property, you know, a massive property? I know it's something you brought up earlier, Janet, you know, a couple meetings ago that we should promote composting.
Absolutely. And there are different ways that it can be done. And I personally have a service that comes in up my compost twice a month. And then in the spring, I get compost back.
And I'm in favor of promoting the service. I think we did talk in the past, as long as we outline all of the private services
Right,
that service the Newtown Township area, it's okay to include them. I've identified 3 so far that I know of, which are Mother Compost, Easy
Yes.
Compost, and oh my goodness, I'm having a brain
Brooks
fart
or
on the last
something.
one. No, it's actually one I used that was based out of media. Yes, Rockstar.
Rockstar.
Rockstar, which I used for a couple years before I set up my own. So I'll continue to scour, but those might be 3 programs we can advertise as long as we're making sure we treat all businesses equally.
Right. Yeah.
Any thoughts, Chris? May topics on your mind?
You guys mentioned that native plants, springtime's a great time to plant. I think you guys mentioned June. You were thinking of putting that one in?
May or June? And actually, that's a good point. There's also the DCNR, so the Pennsylvania Department Conservation Natural Resources actually has 4 separate native plant designs that you can download for free from their website. I think there's one for like shady, sunny, wet, dry. That is a great point. We could include those in there because that is a free resource to residents.
Also on the Birdtown website, under resources, there's a lot of information about the plants. for those different conditions.
Excellent.
Right, right. And also this wonderful little brochure, which I always have available at
Mhm.
tabling events. Right, and this one, I watch people when I give this out. I watch them as they open it up. I can see smiles on their faces. You know, this one is one that they can relate to.
Mhm. Awesome. All right, so I think that sounds great. So let's move on to item 8.2. We have a lot of items on today's agenda, but we'll try to move them a little faster. So discuss and decide on priorities for upcoming community education and engagement. In this case, next 3 months. And this is also where we can talk about the things that are coming up that people might want to be aware of. So let's first talk about Once Upon a Run. Once Upon a Run is a wonderful event that's coming up that's being hosted by Friends of Newtown Square Library in Boron on April 19th. We are going to have an EAC table set up for that event where we're going.
EAC/Birdtown.
Yes, EAC/Birdtown table. We will have 75 mosquito dunks that we're going to be giving
Wow.
away for free.
Where did you get those?
On Amazon. I bought them on Amazon. I'm gonna have to cut them up, but it's gonna work. And obviously a lot of Birdtown information and pamphlets as well. We don't have a lot of budget for pamphlets, which we'll get to, but Homegrown National Park also did provide us with a small mini grant, which is essentially a combination of flyers, bookmarks, and handouts, about 300 of them that they're going to be sending our way as well. I do think it's important. We can have kind of the one view for birds and another view for people who are just looking at maybe like property management overall.
Well, to add something to the mosquito problem
Mhm.
or not problem, I have learned that mosquitoes don't venture very far from where they
This is true.
are
Mhm.
born or come out. And so for me, if it's far enough away from
Mhm.
my patio, and I have a little pond, not really an in-ground pond,
Mhm.
I don't use the dunks there because I'm aware that other organisms like bats really need mosquitoes.
This is
to
true. And
feed them.
fish,
And
everything.
so, yeah, we shouldn't destroy all of our mosquitoes. Keep the area where
Mhm.
we congregate outside free by techniques that don't involve spraying, but
Mhm.
at the same time, you're not trying to kill everything that's in your yard.
Absolutely. It should really be viewed as an alternative to if you're going to go out in mosquito fog. We strongly encourage you do not fog for mosquitoes. It is not a great idea to
No.
ever to broadly spread chemicals. This is a way to have a very small targeted system, for example, by your porch. Also on porches, I will say, what works even better than mosquito dunks is just rotating fans.
Yeah,
Mosquitoes,
blow them away.
yeah, rotating an outdoor rotating fan that kind of blows on your private porch area will actually be more effective even than bug spray in keeping mosquitoes away.
So I think it's about education.
Mhm.
We just don't understand the effects that we're having. So we think we're doing positive things, but they can turn out to be very negative.
Absolutely. So Jenny, you've already talked about the Birdtown event you're doing with the library for the kids' trees.
Yes.
There is, of course, also going to be an Arbor Day event, which is being co-hosted by Parks and Rec and the Historical Society. We will be attending and tabling at that as well, and we've created some handouts. They are also giving away 100 trees,
Good.
slightly larger trees, primarily red buds. We created some handouts for people to take home on how they can cage and care for their trees. So I believe that Parks and Rec is going to be voting on those handouts at their meeting to be held later this evening. So as we talked about, let's see, we already talked about the May 9th. The EAC will be attending the bird walk held by Garrett Williamson in Birdtown, Pennsylvania, and we'll make sure we include that in the newsletter. And the previously discussed native plant swap and pollinator event hosted with the Historical Society has been moved from May 9th to June 6th.
Yes.
All right.
Which
Anything?
was that June 6th one again?
June 6th is the native plant swap and pollinator event.
And
Mhm.
Kathy Cavalier and I
Mhm.
met with Steve Mastardi. We wanted to have some information available at our table that talks about the native plant section that Steve Mastardi has.
Absolutely. I've been meaning to go over there and check that out.
Right. And so he's going to provide us with a nice native plant
Mhm.
and then with the materials. And Kathy Cavalier said, you know, if you would like for us to put your nursery in the booklet that's going to come out, that we will do that without charge for you. to Steve. He said
Yeah.
this because she said it because, you know, he contributes so much.
He really
to
does.
us.
Yeah.
So we're happy to do that.
That's great. And actually that brought to mind, so tomorrow I'll be back at the pollinator gardens with Cindy and potentially some other volunteers. We're going to be, because the pollinator garden has been so successful, we're going to be removing certain plants that are now almost to the point of overcrowding. We're going to be popping out some plugs. We are going to either distribute those, or I set up a little place at my house right now where I can potentially propagate them. So I have some pots. We might be able to bring a bunch of those
Good.
to the native plant swap.
Okay, I was
And
hoping
if
you would
not the
volunteer.
native plant swap, we can consider keeping them in the propagation bed until the fall and potentially doing another event. I will say I personally am not as big a fan of summer planting on my property because I'm not able to easily water things. So I
Right.
do love doing a fall planting of
Right.
natives. But those who have much smaller properties can easily plant well into June. But I have about 600 feet in either direction, and
Mhm.
I run out of hose very quickly. But yes, we should be able to bring possibly some little blue stem, definitely some
Yeah.
golden ragwort. I'll have to see. Cindy's going to judge what she thinks is ready. Where we need to bring some space, we're going to replace it with a combination of soil and compost so it can continue to spread. But you do occasionally have to get in there when they get a little bit. I don't know, folks, the golden ragwort, which is my actually favorite plant in my property's plant in my native garden design, it's gotten very crowded back there. Right, I think in the next, yeah, I think that covers everything coming up in the short term. Unless anyone has any of their events they want to bring up. And we have a lot more agenda topics to get to, so. Okay, so moving on to agenda item number 3, discussion and possible action on contributing half the cost, that's $75 from the EAC towards a 3-year license for the Extraordinary Caterpillar film. So I just want to first share, and I know that Steve, you're going to confirm the budget as well. The library is very happy to hold this license. The license
Good.
needs to be held by the library in order to qualify for the 3-year institutional license.
Right. Otherwise, it's just one day. show.
Otherwise, it's a single showing.
Right. yes.
They're happy to do that. This will also allow us to show it at Garrett Williamson,
Mhm.
potentially in the library. If and when Parks and Recreation gets the capability to do an outdoor movie projection in the next 3 years, it would also allow us to really use it pretty much anywhere we want.
Right. yes.
Yeah.
Can we share it with the schools?
I don't see any reason why not.
Okay.
I will check into the details. I assume it would have to be a school viewing done in partnership with the library and
Yes, right.
EAC, but I don't see any reason why we couldn't do that. As long as the
Right.
library holds the library and the library is co-sponsor of an event. I did speak with the organization and they said that should not be a problem.
Okay, good.
So Steve, I think you mentioned at the end of our last meeting, just want to reconfirm, what is the remaining 2026 budget for the EAC? And I know it's not a firm number, but an approximate number.
Trying to pull it up. Why
Yeah.
don't you keep on moving and I'll.
All right. Well, I do recall, I think it was at least $1,000.
Yeah.
So I think we could unless, does anyone want to discuss the license? Or do we feel pretty safe moving into a vote on that?
So I know this isn't the total cost. is
No,
it?
it's about
So-
half the cost.
And the other half,
Private donor.
private donor. If private donor needs another donor to help.
No, I think we should be all right.
Okay.
Yeah. It's such a small amount of money. All right, then I'm gonna say, let's go ahead and I would make a motion that we approve spending, we also could use the other private donor, but let's, for the time being, approve spending the $75 to purchase the license so that we can use it all across the township.
Is that a motion? Because
I'm gonna make a motion, second motion.
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, wonderful, the motion passes. I know Garrett Williamson will be very excited about that.
Yes.
I know the library has a few films scheduled right now, but it's something they'll be able to use in the future.
I did reach out to the library
Mm-hmm.
and was not able to get a positive response, but just because she said we have, other things.
I think though that that was
Ahead that she
more
didn't
about,
realize
yeah,
that-
that was more about scheduling it, right?
Yes.
This is just really about, I spoke with Angela, she said it would not be a problem for them
Right.
to just hold the license.
Yes.
Because that's really all it comes down to.
Yes,
They don't have to pay for it, they just have to hold it as the institution.
correct. I mean, that's wonderful.
Yeah. Great. Okay. So item 8.4, discussion and possible action on the sustainability.
Can we jump
mini
back for a sec? I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
So then, since we have the license, next month's meeting, should we discuss what we're going to be doing, like an event for it?
Let's definitely do that. Yeah. I will reach out to first find how we actually purchase the license, because that's I think 1 or 2 step process. And then I'll reach back out to Garrett Williamson, who was initially interested in hosting the first screening. But yeah, let's definitely make that an agenda item so then we can discuss where else might we use this? And of course, we have 3 years and we don't want to schedule like 6 different showings all in the same month. No, but it is definitely something we can talk about. So item 8.4, the mini conference. Steve, I'm going to ask you to weigh in here on a quick item for me. So we have, and I believe Mary Shell just shared this with you, a draft agenda and proposed speakers for the mini conference. It's not locked in stone, it's proposed. What I would like us to do today is I will talk through the outline of what that looks like, and I'm suggesting the EAC sort of approve this initial draft so that it allows me to engage Chris and Janet as well in execution of the event. We've tried to be very sensitive to sunshine laws, but I think that we have enough content now where we could do that so that they can help contribute.
I think that's great.
Okay, wonderful. So we'll talk about it as a high level. So again, none of this is set in stone. The theme of the event is practical sustainability for local businesses. So sustainability features that are not cost prohibitive, so economically sustainable as well as environmentally sustainable in things that apply to a very wide range of businesses. It will be held at Garrett Williamson. Right now, we are looking at taking the initial date we had determined, which was Friday, September 24th, and actually moving up the event to the evening of Thursday, September 24th. And that was done in part because the Business Association provided feedback that an evening event would work better for their members and also allow us to host a happy hour in addition to the sustainability conference itself at Garrett Williamson. We don't have an exact time approved, but it will most likely be in the 4:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. range, somewhere in that timeline. So potential speakers would include the executive director of Garrett Williamson. Oh, did you have a question, Steve?
Yeah,
Is this about the happy hour?
no, I'm not,
Okay.
I'm not so worried about that. I'm more worried about the day.
The day.
Because that may preclude, you said the 24th?
Is there something else happening on the 24th?
Well, we have meetings that night.
Oh, okay.
And that's why I'm just having a moment of like,
What day of the week is that?
I
The
think that's a
Thursday.
Thursday, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I have meetings here that night, the Historic Commission as well as the Planning Commissioner that night. And I've always felt like it's important for me to be at that event with you and support that.
So let me take that back to Garrett Williamson and we'll see what alternatives we
Yeah, I
have.
mean, if we were gonna move it, if we could move it maybe even one more night back
To Wednesday?
to Wednesday.
That might be possible. Yeah, I'll have to ask. That was something they had available, but I don't see any reason why we couldn't shift it by a day. I mean, it's not till September.
Yeah. The other possibility, yeah, that's really probably the best.
Okay, we'll take that back to the group.
Okay.
Um,
If had to be, we could probably do the 22nd, but there's a Bartram Bridge meeting that night, but that's a very small group of people that might be involved.
Okay. So other potential speakers, potentially someone, an introduction from someone on the Board of Supervisors. I will most likely talk about a few different topics, including e-waste and EAC initiatives. Additionally, we are hoping to invite a member from the Delaware County Office of Sustainability to come and talk about what zero waste means for commercial businesses. Now, again, not confirmed. We would most likely have Cindy Mahalo come and talk about smart salting practices. So how to reduce, not necessarily eliminate the use of salt to reduce downstream pollution. And then we're looking to have a lightning round where we invite local businesses to come share what sustainability efforts they have implemented that other businesses could replicate. And then rounding it off with a networking event, happy hour, and then potentially a series of tables where we would have different businesses or programs come and advertise their services. For example, Pico offers a free energy audit. There are waste audits, perhaps a table on birth safe window film and other relevant topics.
So I had Pico come out and do an audit for me.
Mhm.
And which I signed up at last year's sustainable conference. Not only did I get a nice review, but they gave me new light bulbs
Oh, fabulous.
throughout my house.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I love free light bulbs.
Are they the LED ones?
Yes, they are.
So because we're running short of time, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna make a motion to approve this draft agenda and also enable other EAC members to contribute to development of these topics and confirming speakers.
I
Second it.
second it.
All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye, that motion passes. We will also, of course, we'll have this as an agenda topic for the next meeting as well, Chris, because we'll need to circle back on the date itself. All right, so where are we here? Can you give us a time check?
6:21.
6:21. All right, so what we'll do, item 8.5, review key takeaways from the Delaware County Sustainability Conference. We don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to suggest that maybe each of us pick maybe one thing that stuck out to us, and maybe we will again take this forward to next month's meeting because we do only have a limited amount of time and we have 3 or 4 additional agenda items. Janet, do you want to kick us off?
I would say, it was a wonderful conference.
It was.
And we had, what, 12 or 14?
Or at
people?
least 14 people from Newtown Township,
Right.
at least.
So that was a phenomenal amount of people that participated. And I think to do justice
Mhm.
to the day event, that we should not try to rush through our explanation of what all the ideas were. There are many things here that we listened to that we could bring home to Newtown Square. And I think unpacking it, not all at once,
Mhm.
maybe not starting tonight.
Oh,
but,
okay. Yeah, that's fine. Actually, we can just move the whole thing to, maybe we'll do several topics per meeting and maybe we'll have an opportunity to also talk about them in a little more depth.
Right.
All right. All right with me. Okay, so item 8.6, review recent community education and engagement events. So I will talk briefly and Janet can add to this as well. On March 21st, several EAC members, along with members of the community, attended the CRC Stream Cleanup, which was hosted by CRC as well as Parks and Recreation at Drexel Lodge Park. It was an awesome event. We were there for about 2 hours at Drexel Lodge Park, and I believe in total, we had maybe 24 volunteers and we got about 800 pounds of trash.
Yes.
Yes, to be fair, there was a large metal cable that contributed a hefty advantage. And we are lucky that Mike McGraw is so strong. He was able to put that up in the truck, but everybody was there. I was there. I was partnered up with Cheryl Grasso from the Board of Supervisors who was there. And I mean, I have to say, Cheryl got in the bushes picking up trash that I was not willing to bend down towards. So props to her for that. But everybody was there and excited. There were a lot of community members. There were also a lot of children that were attending and participating.
And because Mike was there, he was able to
Mhm.
address for us the best kind of practices for the pollinator garden there. And so I think that we can feel confident that we'll be moving forward in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see, I already talked about the pollinator garden cleanup, so we don't need to review that. Anything else related to community education and engagement anyone wants to speak to?
I don't know if this is where I could bring this one up again. We have these signs now. I gave them to George. I just got an email back from George yesterday that he did a careful looking at the perimeter of the Upper Ridley IBA. And he has said that there are 4 of our parks that would be within the IBA, one being Drexel Lodge Park, our Meadow, Paper Mill House, and the Goshen Trail. So I really would like to present this at a Board of Supervisors meeting so that we have an opportunity to speak about the fact that these signs will be placed in those parks for everyone who's there to see that we are in a very important place for birds. And so that whatever we can do, like planting native plants in our yards, large, small, large, or even mini meadows, this is
Mhm.
my newest book, mini meadows, even if it's just the size of a container, can help our pollinators and which then help our birds. So I'd like to get on the agenda at some point.
Are you willing to do both of those in one night?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, okay.
All right, so item 8.7, update on Arbor Day proclamation. Steve, would you like to take this one, or
Yeah,
I
so,
did print a copy if you want.
well, I mean, I think that the key is that the board took an action at the last meeting to do that. In addition, just so everybody knows, we're once again
Mhm.
awarded the Tree City for 2020 because of actions in 2025. And so we were moving, forward with the proclamation for 2026
Mhm.
and doing that. Hopefully we'll have met all the requirements again. And I think we will, because we've got a pretty robust year for plantings and things like that going on. So, but that's what I would say is that I think we're moving in the right direction again for the Tree City piece, but also really probably even more importantly is just that this year's Arbor Day, we're kind of making it, tying it with the American 250 as a historic. We're doing it at the John West House. There's the tree that they're going to talk about, the
Heritage Tree?
the possible heritage tree, the London Plane
Yes.
tree that's there
Mhm.
would not have been there back in 250 years ago, but it's a very, very large tree
Yes.
that we think goes back quite far, and is really a really great opportunity to not only tie history of trees with the history of our country and at that location. So
And
it's
if
a good.
I'm not incorrect, I think some of the trees that are going to be given out on Arbor Day are actually saplings that George grew in his tree nursery.
Oh, they are,
They are
absolutely.
from that tree.
Yeah.
He showed, I
Um,
don't know if it was that tree. It's a
I'm not
tree.
sure, I'm not sure it's that tree.
Yeah.
But I do know he's got
Yeah.
he's been growing quite a few saplings over the last couple of years. And so there's an opportunity there for that.
There's also an opportunity maybe somewhere back in that to put a little native garden propagation, but we can talk about that in the future. Okay, and actually that takes care then of item 8.8, the update on Tree City USA. We have nothing under item 9, old business, but I do want to talk a little bit about item 10, items for next agenda. And I have some thoughts, but I'm also open to other thoughts. Yes, absolutely. We want to go back and maybe we'll pick a few topics, or each of us could pick a topic that we could speak about in a little
Okay.
more depth during the next meeting from the sustainability conference. I also want to recommend that we think about talking about updates we might want to potentially make to the EAC's page on the township website. There was a little bit of outdated content that we removed, but I think there's an opportunity there to create some additional subpages to create. There is already one for Birdtown, Pennsylvania, but some subpages that could be permanent places for important information. Right now, what happens is we publish things to the newsletter or social media, but as time goes on, those links, essentially break, and it's not an ongoing source of information. So I think if we were to pick maybe 3 or 4 topics that we wanted to organize some information on, maybe it is about things that are really relevant to the township, like composting options, like stream health or riparian buffers, like native plantings, that would be a good idea. It's also a very low effort, but it's something that we should talk about and agree on at a meeting.
What is the rule about the township's Facebook page? Who authorizes what could go on that?
I believe so I know when I send content and it goes to Maura and then you guys review it and then Dandelions publishes it, correct? Yeah.
So it's usually reviewed through staff first. If there's a question mark from staff, then it's the board for review.
So what kinds of things are allowable on the Facebook page? I mean, could it be best practices for birds in any way? Or,
Yeah, I think as long as it's generic,
Mhm.
and what I'm talking about is some of the things that I've had to say no to were because they became, they were like supporting a particular business,
Mhm.
or they were, like it was taking you to a business's website for the next step. And we're not, that's not our job, right? We're not out trying to keep businesses,
Yeah.
in that. And so we're very careful about that, because where does that stop? Like, like where, in that way. So that's what I would say about that. Typically, if it's more like this is, I think a lot of the kind of the articles that end up in the newsletter are things that we would
Mhm.
do
And we
in
are
that
we are
way.
doing that now. When I submit them, Janet, I'm making a specific ask that they also become social media articles. And
Okay.
as we talked about briefly, I'm gonna have a short blurb for the newsletter and then a longer thing. And actually, if you look on the EAC page now, there are longer form versions of the recent newsletter articles that they post on sort of the right-hand column. But the images that we create and submit are of the right size to be posted on
Right,
social
I
media
understand
already.
that,
Yeah, so
but
it can go
I'm
straight on
not-
there.
I'm just not sure about what goes on our Facebook
Yeah,
pages.
but that's what I'm saying. Those things, most of those things kind of overlap, and we're willing to do both places.
Or anything
Good.
that would normally go there. And then also events. We can post events. I mean,
Yeah,
if
events are really good
Yeah.
opportunities.
for the bird talk, for
Cool.
example, absolutely, we can put that on social media and we're going to submit it anyway to the newsletter.
Right, okay.
Pretty much anything and everything. We actually have had quite a few things published to social media in the last week, I want to say.
Mhm.
They're probably tired of getting emails from me.
Okay.
No, we want to have good,
Yeah.
we want to have constant content
Updating,
that gets,
updating,
goes
right.
out, because people then are willing to stay
Yeah.
connected to our page.
Yes.
If we only put something out once a month, it gets a little harder,
Right.
so.
I will
I
say
like
though,
to spread it
yeah.
out throughout the month.
something that I've been trying to do, and which I think we all can do, is when something gets posted on the township page as individuals, we can take that and I think share it into local Facebook groups. That's really important because not everybody is necessarily getting alerts from the township page, but there are some wildly active forums across the township. Different types of groups, where whether they're gardening relevant or a buy nothing group or anything like that, or just community networks where we can get more visibility.
About Instagram.
Yeah, the township has an Instagram page as well. To be fair, I have not been designing the visuals specifically for Instagram, and that is maybe just purely out of laziness. I just went with the Facebook size. It could be either or. They both work, but the dimensions are slightly different if you want them to be ideal. But yeah, I think they get posted to that as well. I know we're also on what used to be called Twitter, but I'm not on that personally, and also LinkedIn, but I don't know that that's the right
No,
forum.
not
for-
LinkedIn.
No.
Facebook and
That's if you're
Instagram.
looking for-
Instagram for the younger guys.
Instagram and Facebook, that pretty much covers it. Instagram, Facebook, newsletter. That actually brings up a point. One of the other things I wanted to talk about next week was potentially like more of an EAC marketing approach or marketing strategy for environmental messages, because I think there's an opportunity to take these important messages and get them across multiple forums. We can talk about things like, is there a way and are we allowed to submit things to the Marple Newtown patch? Probably, I imagine with approval, Newtown Square Friends magazine, and also just idea of, how do we want to take what we think are the most important messages and give them a much broader digital audience
Right,
than the
yes.
newsletter. I have some thoughts on that. How I like to put things into little proposals. Couple other topics that we could think about for next meeting. There are quite a few grants out there that could be taken advantage of looking into 2027. I think it's worth taking a look at those as an EAC, because often you need to start planning those 3 to 9 months in advance and see if I have a list of them through another project for Pennsylvania. There are 3 or 4 that potentially could be things we could look at doing in partnership, either alone or with, Parks and Rec or the Historical Society. For example, there were a lot of recommendations that came out in the American Bloom report for native plantings around historical sites that might be wonderful. Not something we have budget for realistically, but a lot of these grants and smaller scale municipal and resident funding opportunities, you know, whether it's $500 up to $5,000, they're not big lifts to apply for, and they could be fairly simple, you know, if we
Well,
get
what we haven't
selected.
had is a
Mhm.
grant writer.
I have never written a grant, but I know how to use ChatGPT, and I am good at paperwork and organization, so can add that to a list.
Okay.
Yes, I can do a lot with AI. It will depend. I did take a look at one for Drexel Lodge Park, but there is actually enough funding already for what we want to do for the pollinator garden, but that deadline unfortunately just passed. It was a small grant. It was like $500, but it would have been enough to buy, you know, a couple hundred landscape plugs of native perennials, which can go a long way. Also, maybe we need a grant to think about having a little space where we just propagate natives. You know, we have a pollinator garden now that is wildly prolific, and some things like the pachyera, the golden ragwort, spread very aggressively in a very good way. Pop out some of those plugs, put them in a small bed somewhere, allow them to just naturally continue, and then now we have maybe 100 plugs once a year we can put into Drexel Lodge Park. You know, still requires some work and effort and time. That actually might be a good Eagle Scout project. George and I had talked briefly about Eagle Scout projects.
We do
you know.
not need more bluebird.
I've learned this, but building, I mean, again, I don't know for sure that this will happen. I don't know for sure where it would be. I don't know who would maintain it. You know, it is just an option though. You know, there are quite a few natives that are quick to propagate. And if not planted in the township, could be given away for free to residents without it being too large of a lift. I have trialed most of them at my home because I have too much land for non-aggressive natives. So it's definitely a possibility. We could also, Janet, think about doing maybe a winter sowing session next year. I have very large.
Good to do
Yeah.
with Kathy.
Yes,
Cavalier.
when I do projects, I go big. So I didn't get milk cartons. I actually went to Home Depot and bought about 10 large, gigantic bins that I drilled holes into. So you can actually do an entire, you know, 2 foot by 3 foot bin
Wow.
with 4 inches of soil. It is just a large cold frame greenhouse. We could like take it up a notch for residents and then also for giveaways, but lots of ideas out there.
No, I forgot to mention that with this logo on it, the
Mhm.
bird-friendly habitat signs. Kathy Cavalier signed up one for the paper mill house.
Awesome.
Doesn't cost anything
Mhm.
if it's a township property.
Oh,
And
that's good
so
to know.
absolutely, otherwise for
Doesn't add up.
individuals,
Yeah.
$30. But anyway, so her sign is being delivered the next time I see her at the paper mill house, because I'm the one who delivers them here in Newtown Square. So if you're looking for one in your yard, just let me know.
All right. Okay, so I don't know why I have public comment as item number 11. I don't think that's right, is it?
Mhm.
All right, do it again. That's right. Okay, so item 11, public comment. There are no members of the public, so we'll move on.
Well, one more thing.
Yes.
For next agenda,
Mhm.
I just threw on here the Caterpillar movie event.
Yes,
Just so we don't
definitely.
forget about to
Right.
talk
Caterpillar
about it.
movie
Good,
event.
good.
We
Good.
also can talk, when we talk about grants, we can also, I think I'm very big on long-term planning. I think it's a good idea maybe in the next meeting to have it be kind of like a long-term planning meeting of sorts. And we can talk about like, not just the events the next 3 months, but let's think about like, if we were just going to plan all of our events for the next 9 months, what would they be? Because there's no reason not to just, you know, the stuff that's an easy
Right,
win,
yeah,
let's
yeah.
decide, let's get it on the calendar. So we're always working against that.
Good idea.
Yes. Okay, so item 12, adjournment. I'm going to go ahead and adjourn the meeting. I also see Parks and Rec out at the door, so they probably like their room back.
George is
But
out there.
all right, so meeting adjourned.